You know that feeling you get with your dog, that the bond you have is special, almost magical? Well, what if it actually was? Today we're going to dive deep into Slavic folklore, a world where dogs were so much more than pets. They were guardians of the spirit realm itself.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question. I bet this has happened to a lot of you. You're at home, everything's quiet, and all of a sudden your dog starts barking at, well, nothing. An empty corner. A blank wall. Kind of weird, right? We usually just write it off, maybe they heard something we didn't. But what if it was something more? You see, for ancient Slavic people, that bark wasn't random at all. It was a signal. And this quote really sums it up perfectly. It was a warning from the spirit realm. This is the whole idea we're unpacking today. That dogs have one paw in our world and another in a world we can't even see. So let's start right there, inside the home. Because the first huge role for dogs in these myths wasn't just as a physical guard against burglars, but as a spiritual protector against forces humans couldn't even perceive.
And this really gets to the core of it. It's all about perspective. We see a dog acting weird. Our Slavic ancestors, they saw a high-tech spiritual alarm system going off. The belief was that dogs had this kind of sixth sense, an ability to see malevolent spirits or bad vibes long before they could cause any harm.
And this wasn't just some vague idea. It was a job description with real duties. Your dog was there to sense these threats and actively fight them off. They were a living, breathing security system against the invisible. And I think it's fascinating that they were seen as special protectors for the most vulnerable people, like pregnant women and babies, who were believed to be extra susceptible to dark forces.
This belief was so real it was woven into huge life events, like moving. There was an actual ritual for it. You wouldn't even step inside your new home until the dog gave it the all clear. If the dog went in and was totally relaxed, great, the house was safe. But if it whined or straight up refused to go in, whoa, that was a huge red flag that the place had some bad juju. It just shows you how much they trusted their dog's instincts. And the dog wasn't working alone. In a lot of Russian and Ukrainian folklore, you have the domovoi. This was a friendly spirit that lived in the house and protected the family. And here's the cool part. The domovoi and the family dog were seen as buddies, as allies. So if your dog was happy and chill, that was a good sign that your household spirit was happy too, and that the whole spiritual vibe of your home was in perfect balance.
Okay, so from protecting the home, the dog's role gets even bigger. We're going from the household right up to the heavens. We're talking about the Slavic gods themselves, and even into the wild world of shape-shifting warriors.
So first, let's meet Simmerglau. Now this was not just any spirit hound. This was a literal god, a divine winged dog that was a key player in the Slavic pantheon. Just picture that for a second. A creature with all the loyalty and faithfulness of a dog, but with the divine power of the heavens. That just shows you the level of respect they had for the canine spirit.
And Simmergal's job was, well, cosmic. It guarded the world tree, the very center of the universe. It acted as a messenger between the gods and humanity. Its protection was even tied to making sure crops grew. I mean, to be worshipped right alongside huge gods like Perun, the god of thunder, that tells you everything you need to know about how important this dog deity was.
And this isn't just a cool story. This is history. We have real context. Around the year 980 AD, Prince Vladimir the Great of Kiev put up these big statues to the most important Slavic gods. And guess who was right there with them? Simmergal. That act pretty much cemented the winged hound's place at the top of the spiritual ladder.
But if Simmergal was the divine, heavenly side of the dog, the god Veles was its primal, wild side. Veles was this powerful, complicated god of the underworld and magic. And he was a master shapeshifter who often appeared as a wolf. And right there, you have the direct link to werewolf legends and that raw, untamed canine spirit. And this idea of transformation, it wasn't just a myth. It was a real practice. Archaeologists have found evidence, especially at a site called Krasnosamarko, that suggest young warriors went through these intense initiation rituals to essentially become wolves. The goal was to tap into that wolf-like ferocity and primal instinct for battle, blurring the line between man and beast to become the ultimate protectors of their people.
So we've gone from the home to the heavens, and now we arrive at what might be the most profound role of all. The dog is a guide for the soul on its final journey to the afterlife.
The fancy term for this is a psychopomp, which just means a guide of souls. And it makes so much sense, right? Dogs are our guides in this life. They're loyal and they lead the way. So it was a totally natural belief that they would do the same in the spiritual world, providing comfort and a sense of direction when we need it most.
This connection to death showed up in all sorts of ways. A dog howling right at the moment someone passed away, that wasn't a coincidence. It was the dog reacting to the soul leaving its body. We even have historical records from the 10th century, from writers like Ibn Fadlan, describing dogs being part of funeral rituals. And get this, if a random unknown dog joined a funeral procession, it was seen as an incredibly good omen, a sign that the soul was being guided safely.
Now, some dog behaviors were also seen as omens that a death was coming. But, and this is really important, the dog was never blamed. It was never seen as the cause. It was just the messenger. The idea was that its super sharp senses could perceive the invisible processes of life and death, and it was just trying to warn its family about what it already knew was on the way. Okay, so, guardians, gods, and guides. That's a lot of ancient history, but what does it have to do with the pup that might be sleeping at your feet right now? Well, it turns out these ancient ideas are still echoing today in some really surprising ways.
You can literally draw a straight line from these ancient beliefs to modern culture. That myth of the powerful guardian dog, it's alive and well in the popularity of fierce protector breeds like the Caucasian Shepherd. The whole idea of dogs sensing monsters and spirits, it's a massive part of the folklore and something as huge as the Witcher books and games. And the dog is a spiritual barometer? Well, that's just our modern gut feeling when our dog acts strange and we just know something is off. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Even if we don't consciously believe in house spirits or winged dog gods anymore, we still act on that same intuition. We trust our dog's senses. When they start acting strange, we pay attention because some ancient part of us still believes they can see things that we can't.
Ultimately, this quote just says it all. Slavic folklore wasn't just telling cool stories. It was creating a way to honor the deep, spiritual connection between us and our dogs. They weren't just animals. They were partners, companions, and protectors in this world and in the next.
Which brings us right back to where we began. The next time your dog just stops and stares intently into an empty corner, maybe don't just write it off. Just for a second, pause and wonder, if these ancient myths were true, what secrets does it know that you don't?
Because whether you explain it through science or through folklore, one thing feels absolutely true. Our dogs are more than just our pets. They are a living link to a very ancient and very magical bond.